Darin Mitchell. I'm in marriage and family therapy. Well, of course, I'm in an Army environment. And in the Army environment, one of the things that it does for you, whether you really want to or not, is it makes you ethically diverse. And it's not just with races, but it's with religions, it's with backgrounds. It's not uncommon to deal with someone who's rich, someone who is poor, and about any kind of person in between. Also, you have to go across social strata. You have to be just as comfortable speaking to someone who outranks you by 2 ranks as you are with someone who may be beneath your rank 2 or 3 ranks. So it helps you to become very diverse. Also, secondly, is I do believe that all needs are common to all. So I understand diversity, I understand the necessity to not be thrown off because someone walks inside of your office who's not of your socioeconomic who's not the same as you socially or geographically. At the same time, all needs are common to everyone. It doesn't matter if you're red, yellow, black, or white. We all want the same things. We want to be secure. We want to have significance. We want to have love. We want to have answers to life and the complexities of life. So although the trappings on the outside may be different, they may have grown up in different places, all you do is peel back the skin and really, I think most everyone's the same. I think it is, but I think it can also be a trap. And what I mean by that is it's not being diverse, not realizing that we all have the same needs, demonizing another race or a religion or something along that lines. Maybe not just disagreeing with them, but instead demonizing them means that you don't understand people as people really are. We all are stressed the same way. We all go through the same life. At the same time, it is possible, I think, to take diversity to an extreme. And that is to come to the place where, because you want to champion diversity and you want to champion this idea that all people are open, you can forget that there is a such thing as right or wrong. There are universal truths across our planet which have been true for thousands of years and will continue to. So I think that sometimes we can fall into this trap of we want to become so diverse that we no longer have a message. And we no longer can really help people because we no longer know even what's right or wrong. I would have to struggle with this when it comes to things such as homosexuality, which I believe ethically to be wrong and biblically to be wrong. Could I still counsel someone? Of course I could. But they would have to know, and I would have to be honest enough to let them know that I may disagree with their lifestyle. I do believe that there are certain gender roles. I don't believe that there's gender bashing, and I don't believe that it means anyone's better than anyone else. But I do think that by and large, nature itself teaches us that there are certain universal orders that should be followed. So I think in the end, when it comes to diversity, that we need to accept people. At the same time, we need to be open and honest to who we are, and to understand that having universal truth doesn't mean that we're not open. Maybe it means we've been open and we've come to a conclusion. Well, I don't think that's hard. As long as you have an open door, and as long as you care for people, as long as you have empathy, you're not going to struggle with continuing diversity. It's also very beneficial. Our family at this point is hoping to go to Europe on our next assignment. And of course, Europe means that you are smack knee-deep into another culture. And what that helps us to do is just simply continue to expand our horizons. The German people are much different than the American people. If we go to Italy, they'll be much different than the German people. And what we have to do then is we have to change that which is not intrinsic to our very nature. We have to be honest, but we also have to change who we are to make sure that we can fit in the environment that we're in so that we feel like we are comfortable, and so are they. So I think that you can continue just simply to keep growing and to keep going by simply never staying still. Okay, I'm going to give you, this isn't a real case, and it's not a case that I've had. Instead, it's a video that you can watch by an actor who is sitting at his desk, and there's a girl that comes to see him. And he comes out of the bathroom and sits down with her and tells her that for five minutes he's going to charge her $5, but he can solve all problems within 5 minutes. So she tells him all of her problems. She tells him that she's afraid of men. And he has one answer to what she says, and that is, stop it. And so she continues to move forward. She continues to keep talking, and she says that she's afraid to drive. And he says, "Well, you're not a kook, are you?" And he says, "You want to drive, don't you?" And she said, "Well, of course I want to drive." And he answers again, "Just stop it." And he keeps saying the same thing and the same thing. She starts getting upset after a while because she starts thinking to herself, and she actually tells him that he's trying to, in essence, put her in a box. And her greatest fear of all time, the one fear she has above any other fear, is being buried alive in a box. And so he, at that point, when she gets upset with him and says that he's not trying to help her, he sits back and he says, "Okay, so you think we're going too fast?" And she said, "Yeah, I think we are." He said, "You think I don't understand?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Well, get out a pen and paper." He said, "Because I have 9 words that's going to help you to understand, and it's going to solve all of your problems." And so she says, "Okay." She gets out her pen and paper and she's looking across the desk at him. And he says, "Are you ready to copy?" And she says, "I sure am." He said, "Stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box." So here's a man who thought, all in all, that every problem there was, it didn't matter if they were red, yellow, black, and white, Hindu or Buddhist, it didn't matter if it was a man or a woman or their problem, they could all be solved the very same way. I grew up in a small rural town in Oregon, a place called Roseburg, Oregon, about halfway up the coast. It was predominantly white city, fairly small, not many affluent people were there, and so I had a very small sampling. We did travel quite a bit up and down the West Coast, but normally we would end up in places that were a lot like our own. It wasn't until I joined the Army that I really had any kind of mix with any kind of other cultures. At the same time, I can tell you that we did not grow up really with racism and prejudice, sometimes like I see in major cities where the races would clash or the genders would clash. We were pretty much, by and large, it was a very docile type of growing up. Once I was in the military, I came into the same kind of environment. And so in the end, it's been very difficult for me to really try to grasp the idea of racism, because I have not really seen it, and I didn't really see it. I understand that racism is one of the things today, and prejudice that can be difficult for us to cross the boundaries is when it comes to diversity. And the fact is that we can't help it. Every last person believes that their sports team is the best in the world. They believe that their car is the best car you can drive. And I think if you peel back the layers, that people would think that whether you're black or white or Indian, that your race is the best race that there is. And I think that that's a hard thing for some people to really come across. I think it's also difficult when it comes to when you grow up in that kind of environment, to really understand that you have not grown up everywhere. It's impossible for me as a man to really understand what it is like to be a woman. It's impossible for me that grew up in a poor family to realize what it's like to grow up, in a very affluent family. And although I can try to grasp and try to cross that bridge, it takes effort, and it's not anything that's natural. Diversity is about accepting and meeting people where they are.